Islamic State is a cult-like group that follows the dictates of the noble Quran, literally, as set forth by Allah the Magnificent. Aside from finding new and ingenious ways of murdering the kufr and apostates, throwing homosexuals from rooftops, and rounding up women and little girls for use as sex slaves, as Allah's Apostle Muhammad did, as recounted in the Hadiths, they are erasers of history. As they are commanded by Allah, their destruction of cultural history has a wealth of theological underpinning that can be found in the Quran, as it and the Prophet laid great importance on establishing Tawheed, monotheism, and eliminating shirk, polytheism. Moreover, their destruction of cultural heritage is mirrored by that of the nation-state of Saudi Arabia, who also does the same in the name of eliminating all traces of pre-Islamic human culture and history. They've destroyed churches, shrines, monasteries, and even mosques. They've destroyed medieval and ancient sites. Moreover, they have destroyed libraries as well as museums. They're famous for their destruction of ancient statues, again, for the strict ideology of Islam, and the destroying of historical ruins and statues, which allows ISIS to wipe the slate clean and start fresh, leaving no traces of any previous culture or civilization, while also providing an ideal platform for the group to establish its own identity. Does any of this sound familiar? As the demographics in what soon will become the former Western world begin to shift, the historical majority populations, or in the case of South Africa, the builders of that nation's past, is beginning to be erased. Much in the same way ISIS has taken to destroying all vestiges of previous civilizations to create their new caliphate, the same thing is taking place across the Western world in the name of social justice, and is summarily being carried out by odious groups like Antifa and Black Lives Matter. In South Africa, which is quickly spiraling into a failed state, the Cecil Rhodes statues were just the first to be attacked and removed. Now statues across that country are being vandalized, set alight, and daubed in paint. Everyone from Queen Victoria to Paul Kruger have been targeted, and even Mahatma Gandhi has not been immune, with protesters suggesting he remained a racist until the end of his time in South Africa. In the UK, King's College London, a prominent university in the UK, announced that it will be replacing the portraits of the school's founders in the main entryway because they are, and I quote, white, which apparently is, and I quote, intimidating to minority students. The entryway will instead feature a wall of diversity of black and ethnic minority scholars. But it is the US that is ground zero for the destruction of cultural history in the West. And it began in places like the University of Pennsylvania, where a group of students took down a large portrait of William Shakespeare, which had been on display for years above a staircase in a building that housed the English department, because they said they wanted a wall of art in the department to represent the world's diversity of authors. So they replaced Shakespeare with a photo of Audre Lorde, an African-American writer, feminist, and civil rights activist. And this fight to destroy historical imagery has really been gathering pace over the last few months, with the removal of Confederate statues or the plans to remove them across the South in the name of diversity and to fight what groups like Black Lives Matter call white supremacy. Calls to remove statues in Charlottesville, Lexington, as well as those that have already been removed in New Orleans, met with a frenzied mob that couldn't wait and took it upon themselves to tear down a memorial to the fallen soldiers of the Confederacy in Durham, North Carolina. Being encouraged by the media, academia, the political class, and the entertainment industry, the mobs that are demanding the destruction of the cultural history of the United States, which incidentally the Confederate States of America has been rolled into, is growing, and like all mobs do, including ISIS, mindlessly. As the froth around the mob's mouth grows, as their ideology of mindless, wanton vandalism reaches its crescendo, and if statues commemorating the war dead of the South, who had no voice in that long ago conflict, can be destroyed in the name of fighting white supremacy, how much longer until they come with their sledgehammers, cudgels, and cranes to destroy the memory of the man that said this? I have no purpose to introduce political and social equality between the white and black races. There is a physical difference between the two, which, in my judgment, will probably forever forbid their living together upon the footing of perfect equality. And inasmuch as it becomes a necessity that there must be a difference, I, as well as Judge Douglas, am in favor of the race to which I belong having the superior position. I have never said anything to the contrary. I agree with Judge Douglas. The black man is not my equal in many respects, certainly not in color, perhaps not in moral or intellectual endowment. How long till Black Lives Matter, Antifa, and their ilk smash and pull down the statues of Abraham Lincoln across the country to howls, cheers, kicks, punches, and spitting? Probably a better question is, how long will it take for these groups to go too far and inevitably reap the whirlwind they have created through their bigotry, hate, and intolerance? As the demographics continue to shift in the US and the Western world in general, expect more polarization, more conflict, and more hatred from every side. Welcome to the promised multicultural utopia. It's here now.